Yeah. Well, we had a podcast earlier today, and I was like, afterwards, I was like,
Which pod?
it was H3.
Oh my god.
Do you know those guys? Oh, no, they love you. You guys are friends, aren't you?
No.
Oh, you're not?
I mean, we're not friends.
Because like he told me to ask you a question. I'm like, I ain't fucking asking him shit. Because like this question's like, I would never ask this question. He goes, hey, ask him about this thing, which maybe I'll tell you later. But I was like,
Yeah.
I go, you can fucking ask him that. And he's like, oh, hey, he'll think it's funny. I'm like, I'm not fucking asking him that, you know. But they were. I'm glad that they welcomed me in. But you know how many people reached out to me and said, don't do it.
The H3?
Yeah, a bunch of people reached out. They said, don't go on, don't do it. And I won't tell, but there's so many people. And then I said, why not? Why not do it?
Yeah.
You know, because and they're like, hey, because these guys are subprimals.
Oh, you guys are rolling, right? Yeah, go ahead.
We're not allies. And you know, I said, but here's the deal with my message. I don't care if they're subprimals. I do care if you're not allies. And if it's going to hurt my chance of being in your ecosystem and spreading this message.
Yeah.
I said, this is all I care about is being able to spread this message. And loyalty above all, especially the guys that gave me my first shot. Logan Paul and those guys, like, they're the guys that lifted me up. And I'm like, I'm loyal to you guys.
I'm curious, what did H3 say? Just tell me.
Listen, I don't think it's disrespectful, but again, this is not like my kind of talk. They told me to ask you about some dude who jacked off a dog.
And, no, it's fair. It's fair.
And again, I was like, I'm not fucking asking him that, but no, you pressed.
It's funny. So that's a video that we did. I did a podcast with my buddy Steve, and before we did this podcast, we were like, we're gonna think of like 3 jokes, and we're big into dark humor. We like dark humor. I think a lot of people do, and they just don't like to admit it. They don't like to say that. Of course, they are, right? So we thought of 3 dark humor jokes, and we thought of like 3 relevant topics, and that was one of the jokes that he had, and we kind of ran with it. I mean, we even said prior in the podcast that like, yo, we like dark humor. We made these kind of jokes, and we kind of deadpan the jokes. So they're like, he's serious. He's so serious. He really does it. And it's just funny because you get a reaction on a lot of people like that who you call them, and I would also call them, we're going to call them in the same sense here, subprimal, or like also known as pussies. It's fine, right? But like those are the kind of people who take things and spin things to their own narrative every way for their own benefit.
Why is there, do you have my water? Why is there so much animosity? Because I'm telling you, as soon as I started so I don't know if you know this, but these guys, they sent a plane for me, and then they put me up. And what is the name of the place?
Who sent the plane for you?
The H3 guys.
Really?
And then they put us up at this incredible hotel, the Wilshire.
Here's the funny part about this H3 guy. Before we continue this, he wants to do a pod with me. Guess how?
How?
He did a pod with you today. Did you go see him in person?
Today, yeah.
Yeah. He wants me to do a pod with him. Guess how?
Oh, over Zoom. Oh,
yeah.
That's interesting. Well, but why do you think there's so much animosity? Because I'm telling you, everyone was like, hey, don't do this thing. I talked to a few people. I think there was a lot of legitimate concern, maybe attack or whatever. And I'm like, you know what? I don't care what you say about these guys. If someone has an audience, I want to speak to that audience.
Of course. And I don't blame you for that. I think it's just the type, maybe just the type of content they make that like, it's just based around seemingly what it looks like. Every time I'm introduced to it, because again, I don't go and I don't consume all their content. So I can't say I've seen all the hours of all their videos of all their podcasts. But every time I'm introduced to it, it's some sort of like tearing down either me or some other creator that doesn't agree with them. And that's, I think maybe that's the reason why people would say not to do this or not to do that, whatever.
That makes sense. And I think maybe I'll learn more about that. But I'll tell you that they welcomed me with open arms.
Yeah.
I think because so many people were telling me to be on high alert, I was on high alert.
Yeah.
But they welcomed me with love, and there was no real challenge of the message. And this is what I say to everyone. And I want to tell you right now, like, I'm so grateful that you have me on.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of every podcast, like I want to put words to what I mean by being grateful. And I said the same thing to them. You know, people are really hurting and they hate their lives today. I'm sure you've probably heard some of this message. But the suffering, the struggle that's going on in the world today, and the way that the modern day manicured man is living an aimless life, wondering about life. They're weak. They're submissive pussies, right? There's no purpose. There's no passion. There's no fight. There's no unite in men's lives today. So we have people that are suffering at record rates with depression, anxiety, infertility, contemplating suicide. And there's this better life to live. And I know that you know this life because I see the light that you have on.
How important do you think working out and training is to that aspect of life? To be able to overcome those things?
This is one of my 9 ancestral tendencies move.
Yeah.
I think it's absolutely fundamental.
Do you know that if we're talking about H3 in this conversation, H3 is the one person who, when I kept my gym open during the pandemic, he was the person who kind of bashed me and made it seem as if my biggest beef with H3 was his relationship to say laser tag is the same thing as going to the gym.
Wait, repeat that?
There is a clip, and I watched this little thing where he's talking about me, and I said I'm keeping my gym open because of mental health, suicide rate, all these things are important, and how important that we're all knowing that is for physical health and mental health. The gym, even during that time, even though it was like smoke and mirrors and you can't do this and this is essential and that's not essential. I kept my gym open during the pandemic the whole time. I went to court 9 times, right? Came out, they said, we'll let it go, right?
Oh, yeah.
So during that time, H3 got on me because I kept my gym open. Also because I did some other stuff where I did like a gym protest or whatever, and he like didn't like that. In his narrative was basically like I'm a dumb meathead steroid abuser or whatever, and that he's relating the fact that, oh, if he wants to keep his gym open, then why don't we just keep laser tag open because it's the same thing.
Oh, I understand. Okay.
So everything you just said about the importance of like men, masculinity, mental health, stability, all this stuff, I've always stood behind that because I've dealt with that, like problems with that in my own life for many different reasons. You
know what's wild is that they seemed to be incongruent with there was no pushback against that, no resistance to that message, right? And so this is why I exist today. I said, thank you for this. This is why I exist. Thank you for having me on. And there was really no pushback. In fact, Hassan seemed to really be an advocate for working out. He said he used to be obese. Now he's no longer obese because he works out. He's been trying to get Ethan to work out. And Ethan said he would work out, he wouldn't feel good. Apparently I think that, I just want to say this. I didn't feel the resistance, and I felt like they opened their arms, and I felt like I was able to deliver a message that maybe an audience like this has otherwise not really heard. I'm grateful for that, but dude, I remember leaving. I remember it was like 3 hours. It was 3 hours, and then at the end, all they were doing is showing clips, and they're like, they wanted me to react to primal or subprimal, and my whole thing in life is like, I don't react to life, right? Like guys like us, we prospectively define and shape and create the lives we want to live in, right? We don't make reaction videos. We don't, and so I remember like, okay, I'll give me a couple clips. So I responded to a few clips, and then after like 10 clips, I'm like, this is not what I do, right? If we don't have anything else to talk about, I'm out of here. But I'm grateful for the opportunity. But this is why I asked you if you get tired, because afterwards I was like, oh my God, I'm a little bit tired. I'm a little bit tired.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely mentally draining sometimes, for sure.
Yeah. But then I felt a little guilty because I'm like, well, by the way, right now I feel great. Yeah. I feel great. Like I feel the vibe, I feel the energy. But I'm like, I have the opportunity to go on Bradley Martin's podcast right now on Raw Talk, and I'm like, the best version of me better show up.